that is really just wearing you out. It's wearing you out financially, it's wearing you out emotionally, it's wearing you out mentally. Well, hello, school counselors and school counselors to be. Thank you guys so much for coming to my channel, The Inspiring School Counselor. And as you guys can already tell from the title down below, we're going to be getting into reasons why you might feel like you need to transition as a school counselor. And I'm not talking about leaving the profession of school counseling. I'm just talking about maybe you are at the school that you are currently and you just feel like it's time for you to, just switch schools or maybe even switch school levels. And so I'm going to be giving you guys just different things that you can have in mind that can kind of help you make that decision, and hopefully it can just shed some light. So I'm excited to get into this video. Hopefully you guys are excited too. Let's go ahead and get into it. You guys are actually going to see me look off to the side because I'm looking at my tablet. I have some things that I already have together that I want to make sure that I hit. But the first thing that I have written down here is if you're not being utilized as a school counselor and you're being more utilized to do non-school counseling tasks. For one, as you guys know, I always talk to you guys about just the importance of protecting your role as a school counselor and advocating for yourself. And maybe you were one that did a lot of advocating, but it seems like no one's listening. It seems like the principal is not listening. And so with that being said, a lot of the things that you might want to do as a school counselor, you are now being limited to it. So if it is that you are experiencing that, then very well it could be time for you to go ahead and look into other avenues. And so that can be very taxing on you as a school counselor, especially when you are wanting to impact students' lives. Y'all know I always use that word impact students' lives because it's essential, and that's essentially what we want to do as school counselor, okay? And I believe I did a video on this, and if I can find it, I will put it down in the description below. But I basically did a video on just non-school counseling tasks that you should not be doing. Things like putting in, attendance, to scheduling and just different things like that. That's not really our role as a school counselor. However, I do know that there are still some schools, some counties that is stuck in that old way of thinking in regards to school counselors and what it is that we should be doing. And so it just takes a lot of just educating your administrators, advocating for yourself, and also, like I talked to you guys about before, showing the data and seeing how, because you're doing more non-school counseling tasks, you're not able to impact the school like you would like to. Talking about behavior-wise, attendance-wise, even social and emotional areas that the kids might be struggling with. And so doing data is very important. And so that is something that you might want to keep in mind, especially when you feel limited in that sense. Now, I know for me, and kudos go to my administrator, she was just very open, and that's what I really loved about her, is how open that she was. And so whenever I had a concern about maybe things that I was doing or things I might felt like I did not have enough time to do because I'm putting more time in a non-school counseling area, non-school counseling task, I was able to talk to her about it, and she was open, and she even maneuvered my schedule to where I would be able to have more time to pour into my school counseling program. I had an administrator that made me feel comfortable to talk to her about that. But if you have an administrator, and actually that goes into our next point that we're going to be getting into, which is if you and your principal or your administrator, whichever word you want to use, do not have a good relationship, then that might be reasons why you might want to transition and look into, going to another school, okay? Because your relationship with your administrator is so essential, okay? You guys have to work together to talk about ways that you both, along with, of course, the faculty and staff, can truly, make a difference in the students' lives, in the school's lives. And that's targeting things like behavior, like I mentioned before, attendance, maybe even testing areas, just different things. That's going to take you and your administrator working together. And so if you feel intimidated by your administrator and you feel like you can't talk to them, then that, for me, definitely for me, is red flags. Hey, you guys, so I forgot to mention this in the video, so I wanted to insert it now. But the reason why I also feel like it's important for you to have a good relationship with your principal, because you're going to have times where teachers might even come up to try to tell you or try to tell your principal what they feel like you should be doing. And when you and your principal have a good working relationship, it does not matter what the teachers are saying that they feel like they should be doing. If it is that it's out the way and might not align with your agreement with your principal and what you have come together to do, then that principal is going to put that, that teacher or whoever in place. And I actually ran into that where I had a teacher assistant come up to me and tell me that I needed to be doing something in regards to standing outside for the buses. And so my principal was telling her like, no, that's not her job, and that's not what she's going to be doing. And I just am so grateful for that time, but that just takes us having a good working relationship and my principal understanding my role as a school counselor. And so that is also another reason that I wanted to bring up to you guys. The administrator that I have is now moving on to a central office position, and so we're getting a new administrator in. So, but I really do like this administrator coming in. At least I had dealings with her whenever I went to her school to help out when the school counselor was out at her school that she was currently principal over. But I do have high hopes for this year for things to just be really good and for us to have that good counselor and administrator relationship. But however, I'm sorry y'all, I just took that whole long excerpt. But anyway, however, if you guys don't have that good relationship, that could be very hard. It could be hard for you to express to them the things that you want to do. And I'm pretty sure you're just going to want to stay out of their hair. You don't even want to be seen anywhere around when they're present because you are that intimidated. And that's just not the way to go. And so if you are a principal that's looking at this, you definitely want to be approachable. So school counselors, if it is that you do not have that good relationship with your principal, then you might want to look at going somewhere else, because I don't know about you guys, when I come to school, I don't want to be afraid to talk to different ones or be intimidated to talk to different ones that I'm working with, okay? If anything, it should be a good, healthy working relationship. Now, I'm not going to say that you're not going to have people that you might not see eye to eye to. I'm not going to say that you might not have any issues that arise, but I should not feel like, man, I don't even want to look at this person because I'm afraid of them or I'm intimidated by them. That's just not the type of work environment that I would want to be in. Another thing that I would point out is that if you're not trusted to implement programs to benefit the students, okay, you could be coming with some really great ideas that you feel like would really help the students, but you're not able to really know if it will or not because your principal is like no to everything that you're wanting to do and implement. Now, it's one thing if it's just not the right timing. Like, for instance, I know when I wanted to start the school rewards card, and it was like the second year that I was in school council. It was like maybe like the 2020-2021 school year. I wanted to implement that rewards card, but of course it wasn't the right time to do that. And I'm glad that I did it because one minute we were in school, next minute we weren't in school, and just a whole bunch of different things. So just wasn't that right time. However, when I presented it again, she was like, yes, let's do it. And I might be getting my dates mixed up, so sorry, y'all. However, it was a time where she was just like, you know what, let's go ahead and implement it. And then I was able to implement it, and then we were able to see some great gains from doing it. Kids were looking forward to it. I've even had some teachers reach out to me and let me know how it has helped their class. And so, it might not be the right timing. However, if your principal, your administrator is just like tearing down everything that it is that you're wanting to do and not wanting to adhere to the things that you're wanting to implement, then maybe it's time for you to go ahead and transition, okay? So that's just something to keep in the back of your head. Now, it's one thing where if you were coming in as a new school counselor or something like that, and maybe the school counselor before had implemented a program and they're kind of, doing that, maybe it is that you need to follow through with what is being done and kind of just put your foot in the door with whatever it is that they're doing. And if it is that you're not seeing no gains from doing that, maybe it is then you can present to the principal. Maybe you can keep data or something to let them know, hey, this is what I'm seeing, and this has not changed since this program has been implemented. However, can we try this new thing? Okay, so that's just some things to keep in mind. But however, once again, if it is that they're not willing to listen to you, if it is that they're not willing to hear you out in implementing things, then once again, maybe it's time to transition. Reasons why you might want to transition is maybe that certain age that you've been working with for a long time and you just want to switch things up. You know, maybe you were a high school school counselor for however many years, and now you want to kind of broaden your, horizons, and you want to kind of work with more of that elementary school setting, and working with the younger kids. And so that could be very well reasons why you might want to transition and try a different age level. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is actually a time when I was doing my internship, and I was actually at high school, and I just know that one of the school counselors there, she was working with high school, students for, I think it was like over 10 years. And she was like, look, I want to do something different. And I just remember hearing those conversations of, how she's really looking into going to an elementary school setting. And guess what? She ended up transitioning. And I actually remember how they would joke around and says, hey, if that doesn't work out for you, you can always come back and, work as a high school counselor. And so, but yeah, she really felt like she wanted to do something different. And so don't ever let nobody make you feel any less if it is that you want to do that, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. And it doesn't make you not like the high schools or whatever grade levels whatever age level that you're working with. It doesn't mean that you like them any less because you want to move on and do another age level. You're just becoming even the more a well-rounded school counselor. And I'm all about that, being well-rounded and knowing how to work with different age groups. There's nothing wrong with that. So that is something I wanted to bring up. And it actually goes into this next thing that I have written down. And that is working with the age group does not bring you joy. Okay? If you feel like just, working with elementary kids just doesn't bring joy to me. And it does not mean that you don't like the elementary kids. It doesn't mean like that you don't like kids, period. But it could be just that you feel like your calling is not with the younger kids. Maybe your calling is with the middle schoolers, or maybe your calling is with the high schoolers. Whatever it is that you are, in, and maybe you feel like you just have a higher call for another age group. That could be very well reasons why you might need to transition. Because one thing that you want to do is just make sure that you want to put your best foot forward. You want to put your best work out there when you're working with students. And not saying that because you don't really have joy working with that particular age group, you won't put your best forward. But it's nothing like when you feel happy and you feel such a joy when you go to work and you are working with, the people that you want to work with or the age group that you want to work with. So that is just something to keep in mind as well. Another reason why you might know that it's time for you to transition, and this is something that's actually impacting a lot of individuals, at least right now in the state that we're in, and that's the economy. Okay, that's the economy and just convenience. The way the economy is going, gas prices are high, food, is high. And so you might be the very one that's saying, look, I travel this many miles, or I travel 40 minutes away, maybe even an hour and a half away just to go and work at this particular, school. And so that is really just wearing you out. It's wearing you out financially, it's wearing you out emotionally, it's wearing you out mentally, in the sense of you're not really getting a lot of sleep, because just having to wake up so early to go to work, just different things. So that might be something that you want to keep in mind. And maybe too, because you are working so far away, you're not able to really have enough time when you finally get at home to do different things. And if you are involved like I am, I have family, husband, involved in ministry and different things like that, your schedule in that day when you get off of work can be so filled in things that you have to do. And on top of, just making sure you cook and clean and all those different type of things. So that could be something to consider. But currently right now, I still travel 50 minutes away, and God is my supplier. I put my trust in him. And I always say this, I want to be wherever God wants me to be. And so if God wants me to be traveling 50 minutes away and that's where I'm at, then that's where I'm going to be. But if God opens that door for me to be able to travel to work and it's closer, then that's just where I need to be. And so with that being said, you just want to look at that, because especially if you feel like, financially it is not working for you, then you might need to go ahead and consider transitioning. And another thing I have written down is if it's a negative school environment. This goes into things that I was actually talking about earlier, but just to really get into it even more, this is focusing like even with the faculty and staff. If you have people that's just negative, it's just a negative environment, the school spirit, which there is no school spirit, because just everything, faculty and staff is just a very negative environment, then that might be very reasons why you need to transition, okay? I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to work anywhere where I'm dreading to go there because of just the whole atmosphere is negative. That's just not my thing. That's not my vibe. That's not who I am. And so if it is that I need to transition out, then that is something that I would do. And so with that being said, you might need to keep that in mind, and looking at that, do you want to stay there, or do you want to look at other avenues and, put yourself in a position where you don't dread coming to work because of the negative environment, but you enjoy coming to work. And that might be the very reason why you need to transition to just start over, get that clean slate. And one more thing that I want to mention, which I could have mentioned earlier that I didn't, but also if you're only utilized for one part of your counseling service, or maybe like a few parts. So for instance, if you find yourself, and this might be more fitting for the elementary school counselors, but if you find yourself only being utilized to teach lessons, guidance lessons, and nothing else, meaning you don't have time for individual counseling, small groups, like you don't have time for nothing else but to teach lessons, then that might be very reason why you need to transition out, okay? Because your job, you as a school counselor, your role, it is so much bigger than that, your role as a school counselor. And so you want to be utilized in every area and not feel so stuck in that one area, unless you like being in that one area. But I truly believe if you are a school counselor that is, really wanting to develop professionally, then you're not going to want to be stuck in just this one little box. You're wanting to be utilized in every area and continue to progress. And so those are things that I have written down here. And I might even do a video that talks about the pros and cons of transitioning as a school counselor. So you might want to look out for that. Hopefully I can get that up and running soon. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was able to give you guys some insight and some things to think about, because maybe you find yourself in this position where you're kind of just up in the air. You don't really know what you want to do, but hopefully this was able to help you guys. I thank you guys so much for your time. If you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I upload a video. I will see you guys next time.